So to get started, welcome everybody to the webinar. We'll be today talking about NetBeez release of 1.5 and SSID hopping. My name is Jordan Scott, and I'm an account manager here, and I'll be taking you through the first part of this webinar. So our webinar agenda, we will be discussing some of the features that were released in 1.5, going more in depth into SSID hopping, and then Stefano will be taking us on a product tour of the new NetBeez dashboard. So to review the new features within 1.5, so as we mentioned numerous amounts of times, we have implemented SSID hopping, which we'll get into a little bit later. We've also implemented a new create target workflow. So with this, it just easily simplifies the way that users create new targets to monitor different applications. In the new version, we simply just break it down step by step, so you're able to easily understand what you need to do, as well as where you can actually customize these tests to best support your network. Next, we support for iPerf reverse option. With this, we have enabled the reverse option for iPerf version 3. So if you initiate the iPerf test from the iPerf server to the iPerf client, this option is very useful when the client is behind a net or firewall, something like a home internet subscriber. The iPerf reverse option enables the agent to connect to the server, and then the server to then initiate the throughput test by bypassing the net and firewall restrictions. Next, we then implemented 2 new defined timer thresholds. So for the first one, it's for the agent unreachable threshold. Simply, the user can now decide how soon he or she will be notified when the agent is not able to connect to the dashboard anymore. So by default, this is set for 30 seconds, and then this will notify the users once an agent becomes offline at a remote location. And then our second defined timer threshold will be for Wi-Fi disconnections. So this is especially important within the SSID hopping because this will notify the NetBeez user when the Wi-Fi sensor is not able to connect to said SSID after having tried for about X number of seconds. By default, this is 60 seconds. But this exposes the threshold of the NetBeez dashboard, and it gives more control to the wireless engineers on how to handle such notifications. So that was just a simple quick review of the new features that have been implemented in 1.5. Again, if you like something more in depth, feel free to visit our document section on our website, where we've published some information about it, as well as you can reach out to us for more one-on-one meeting to go into more detail. But before we get too in depth into SSID hopping, we do have an important announcement for you. Drum roll, please. We have recently come out with a new Wi-Fi bees. So we're happy to announce that today it is prime time, and we are starting full orders with this new and improved wireless NetBeez agent. Some people may say it is the Ferrari of Wi-Fi sensors, but what we have essentially done is taken our wireless agent and internalized it, so you just have one simplified agent. So inside here, you will have the Raspberry Pi, the 802.11 AC adapter, as well as the power over Ethernet splitter, all in one case. Just a little note, you can use PoE, but you can also use the external power adapter as well. So SSID hopping, let's get into that. Wi-Fi is everywhere. It's connecting the world. I mean, it's 2019. There's even Wi-Fi in the streets. So wherever people congregate, whether it's shopping mall, at an airport, coffee shop, you can expect to have some sort of Wi-Fi connection. Now, the same is true when it goes over to the enterprise organizations. Most companies offer their employee Wi-Fi network as well as a guest Wi-Fi network. So can you imagine having a visiting business partner that comes in looking for a Wi-Fi network to present something like a presentation? how are they, without a good connection, how are they supposed to access their slides that are stored in the cloud without a solid guest SSID? In today's multi-SSID world, monitoring one single Wi-Fi network is not enough anymore. Now, to add more to your plate, Wi-Fi guest networks have the same expectations in the business side. They demand a stable, well-performing, and reliable service, so that another addition that you have to be monitoring, another challenge for the wireless engineers. So you're now tasked to monitor multiple SSIDs, one for the employees, one for the guests, and probably 2 or 3 other sort of internalized networks that you have to pay attention to. So what exactly is SSID hopping? So what we've done here is enables a single sensor to test up multiple SSID networks. What we're able to, with NetBeez, we've able to see this need, and we've implemented our sensors to monitor from anywhere from 2 to 4 SSIDs by connecting to each one of them for a certain amount of time, expressed in minutes or hours. This feature is now available to anybody that has a wireless sensor and has upgraded to the 1.5 dashboard. This enables enterprise wireless engineers to use one sensor at each location to monitor all of the Wi-Fi networks without having to deploy multiple sensors throughout the building. So what is an SSID hopping event? When agents are configured to the SSID hopping, they connect to the first SSID for a certain amount of time defined by you, called the hopping interval, and then disconnect and to connect to the second SSID for the same amount of time, and so on and so on. At the end of the cycle, it just keeps repeating itself until the user steps in and changes something up. A benefit of the SSID hopping is that when the Wi-Fi sensors test the connection time and authentication to each SSID, you'll get notified if there's any sort of issue. Also, during the hopping interval, Wi-Fi sensors run user-defined tests via monitoring targets, something that we kind of discussed before, to the web or cloud applications, as well as be able to run the network performance tests, such as iPerf or speed tests on the different networks. As the Wi-Fi sensor can authenticate or get a DHCP address within the Wi-Fi disconnection threshold, it will trigger an alert. As we said earlier, by default, this is about 60 seconds. The value can be overridden in the anomaly configuration section in the NetBeez dashboard. One second as we get our slides caught up here. So how do you create a hopping group? It's pretty straightforward for the process. First, you have to set up your different Wi-Fi SSIDs within the NetBeez dashboard. And then you'll have to pick the networks that you'd like to monitor. The Wi-Fi groups that have been already established, then you create the hopping groups. You can select between 2 and 4 of the networks to monitor. Then you have to select the hopping interval, which is the amount of time that the sensor stays and monitors that individual SSID before moving on to the next one. The hopping interval is user-defined. Typically, it can be anywhere between 5 minutes to 6 hours. The hopping interval depends on the number of SSIDs that are selected. And then lastly, you have to select the agents that you want to include in the hopping group. The agents you can select in this step are only Wi-Fi Bs. Just a note, you can't use custom images on your own hardware, otherwise there will be issues. Also keep in mind that one agent can either monitor one SSID or be involved within a hopping group, so it's typically an exclusive assignment. Once you have selected the agent, voila, you're done. Your bees will start monitoring all the SSIDs that are in that hopping group, and you'll be able to be checking out that information and start gathering it. Once it's connected and starts gathering that information, you'll be able to check out the test performance profiles. So we'll get a little more in-depth into it when Stefano goes through the dashboard. But as each agent is configured to SSID hopping, it will monitor those targets on all the networks that are configured. It will store this in the Beastkeeper, or the NetBeez centralized dashboard server that stores the dashboard, and then it'll be presented onto the dashboard. And then you'll be able to see test profiles based on the specific SSIDs the agent is connected to. So for example, here, you can see that we have tests running to Google on NetBeez and NetBeez Guest. You can see on the left for the NetBeez, the average response time for ping is about 48 milliseconds. And on the NetBeez Guest, it's about 54 milliseconds. So having one test profile for each SSID enables you to kind of see which network is having issues and be able to identify any performance issues that affects, maybe in this case, the users on the guest network, but not the employee one. In this case, NetBeez won't generate an alert for all the SSIDs included, just for that specific one. So now, with all this said, I will pass the control to Stefano, who will show you the specific use case and how SSID hopping works within NetBeez.
Thank you, Jordan, and hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. I'll be happy to show you the demo product tour part of the SSID hopping feature. So to do that, of course, I'll share now my screen to show you the dashboard that I've loaded. Okay. So it seems like the dashboard is loaded. So for those who are not familiar with NetBeez, NetBeez is a distributed network performance monitoring solution that relies on dedicated hardware or software sensor that can run continuous tests on the network and against application. This is our dashboard in this main screen, which you call also the bus tab. You can see some information about your network, the most relevant. We have a kind of tab menu on top. So from here, you can quickly access the agent that you're managing and that are monitoring. And you can see we have different types of agents. Of course, the focus of this webinar are not the wired fast Ethernet, but are the wireless ones. Then we have a tab with the targets. Targets are the applications that you're monitoring. Could be a website like CNN.com or Google, or a cloud app like Google Apps, or even a network service. And then we have the Wi-Fi tab. The Wi-Fi tab is where you define the networks or SSIDs that you want to monitor. And of course, for that, you will need a Wi-Fi sensor or the Wi-Fi diesel like Jordan showed you before. So you can see that the Wi-Fi network monitor was something that we launched in 2015, and the Wi-Fi tab actually was launched in last year, so 2018. In this case, we have two Wi-Fi networks that we're monitoring, NetBeez and NetBeez Guest. As Jordan was saying, we have a private for employee network and a NetBeez Guest. So before 1.5, agent could be statically assigned only to one network, either NetBeez or NetBeez Guest. But since 1.5, we added hopping groups. So how do you create an hopping group? It's very simple. We enable here this button called Manage Hopping Groups. So if you click here, you can see that we already have created a hopping group named default. This is how we name it because we only have one in our case, although some customer can have more than one hopping group. And you can see that including this hopping group, we have two networks. Of course, the only one that we have, which is NetBeez and NetBeez Guest. We set the hopping interval to 15 minutes, and we have 4 agents monitoring these two networks every 15 minute hopping from one to another. I'll show you more about how to create a hopping group. But before that, let me show you how it looks like an agent that is monitoring via SSID hopping. So for that, I'll take the newbies that Jordan was showing you, and I'll go in the general tab. So First thing is that you can identify a hopping agent on the top header of the agent detail view. Here you can see that this was assigned to the hopping group default. And then you can see that these are the targets that this agent was included to, and that we have, of course, a copy of the same target twice. So one per each target or SSID that you're monitoring. So for instance, like the Google, we have the Google performance profile under the NetBeez SSID, and then the Google profile under the NetBeez guest SSID. So you can see here clearly that the agent jumped from the NetBeez to the NetBeez SSID and continue monitoring google.com because you see here this break at exactly 2:15 p.m. And of course, the beauty is that you can open more than multiple real-time tests and see the comparison. And you can see also maybe the averages, how different they are. Okay, so these are the different performance profile. Another important thing that Jordan mentioned is the interface management. If an agent is statically assigned to one SSID, like is the example of this one, you can see that from the interface management menu, the WLAN 0 interface, you can set the SSID that is going to monitor. You can set the band that you want to force it on, the BSSID, the channel frequency, and you can also set a static IP address if you want so. In SSID hopping, this is not possible because, of course, you're hopping between different networks, so the IP settings are different, the BSSID are different, and so on. So you can see that this is something that you cannot control anymore under SSID hopping, but it's okay because at least you can monitor multiple networks. So of course, the default configuration for an SSID hopping agent is that DHCP is enabled, and of course, you cannot force it right now on a specific band. Of course, we still support dual band, but it's all about what the network is assigning to what band the agent, or the agent making choices based on the power level. Another thing that you can see in the wireless tab associated to each agent, you can see here the information, this green lollipop, meaning that the agent connected from one SSID to another. The channel is the same, but the BSSID number changed. So this is like the view from the wireless detail view, the wireless agent detail view perspective. If you go under the Wi-Fi tab, now we can open the individual network. So this show you per each Wi-Fi network you configure, all the agents that are monitoring that Wi-Fi network. You can see the aggregate link quality, signal strength, and so on. You can see this red lollipop, meaning that the agents that have been included in this SSID have been hopping to another one right now. But you can see there are also some static agents that are fixed on this SSID. And the beauty of this tab is that you can also identify the agents that have low link quality, right? So maybe there are areas of your network that don't have good coverage. You want to realize that here. And this is what allows you to do. So if I jump now on the NetBeez guest, you can see that those agents that are hopping now are currently monitoring the NetBeez guest SSID. And this looks like a better picture, as the link quality is more than 80% for all these agents. So another part I want to show you is how to create a hopping group. So what you do, once you have configured your Wi-Fi network, of course you need between 2 and 4 network in a hopping group. Otherwise, if you have more than 4, it's too many. But you click on Manage Hopping Group, and then you click on the Create Hopping Group. You name the hopping group like a test webinar, for example. You can add a description if that's convenient. And then you click Next. You select the SSID between 2 and 4. And then you select the hopping interval, which is dependent on the number of SSID that you have selected. In this case, we have between 5 minutes and 6 hours of hopping interval. And you have different values in between. The goal, of course, of the open interval is that every 24 hours, the agent restart the cycle. And that's why the interval is dependent on the number of SSIDs. So let's take, for example, 10 minutes here. Then I click next. Here is where you select the Wi-Fi bees. Of course, here we'll only see Wi-Fi agents. You cannot configure SSID option software agents or FAST agents for, because it's Wi-Fi related. But you can see that here also tells you whether those agents were already assigned to another hopping group. So you can steal this agent from that hopping group and place them in this new one. But of course, if you do so, you will prompt with the message with the warning. Of course, like keep in mind that if you move an agent from one hopping group to another or from an SSID, then you will lose the data of the previous tests. So then you can reassign, but in this case, I don't need to create an hopping group. We already have one created. It was more to show you this feature. Okay, with that, we conclude the product tour on the hopping group. I can now, maybe we can leave it to the question and answer. And let's see the first question that we have. Okay, so the first question is, do you have any link to a spec sheet or more details page for the new sensor? So we're actually updating because we announced it today. The spec sheet will be updated on our website, netbeez.net/resources. So you can, of course, like stay tuned and see the new updated spec sheet on our website. Another thing is, of course, on the underlying hardware, you will notice that there are not any changes. We will include the same hardware, but of course, the primary benefit of this new version is that you have everything in one place. Okay, other question about, is it possible to monitor multiple SSIDs per target? So for example, so would NetBeez be able to monitor all 8 SSIDs with 2 agents? So one individual agent right now, we set the limit, the software, it's more a software limit, but we set it to between 2 and 4. Technically, it's possible to monitor 8 SSIDs, but at the moment, we prefer to limit the number of SSID that you can monitor. So technically, it's possible, but at the moment, not with the current software update version. In that case, yeah, if you want like to monitor 8 SSIDs and you have 2 agents, you will set one agent hopping through 4 SSIDs and the second agent hopping through the other 4 SSIDs. Yes. Okay. So another update that I want to announce is that this agent is already available. So if you're interested in testing, you can request a demo. Of course, we offer 15-day free trial of NetBeez, so you can request a free trial with the Wi-Fi sensors, and you'll receive the new agent if you want to try that. And as I said, under the hood is nothing different from the current, the previous sensor, which includes a Raspberry Pi 3B, plus we're also a 802.11ac dongle and the power over Ethernet splitter. With that, I don't see more question on the Q&A section. I want to thank you everyone for attending this webinar. And if you have any more questions or follow-ups, please reach out at netbeez.net. We have a demo request form, or you can also interact with us with the chat on the bottom right of the website. Thank you again, and have a great day.